Hi guys, today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to draw black anime characters. A lot of people ask me this, how do I draw characters that look black? I'm afraid that if I draw the character, they're not going to look right and I might get in trouble or it'll look disrespectful and I don't want to disrespect anyone. A lot of people ask me this all the time, and people have been asking me this as a tutorial for basically since my channel started getting off the ground. So I'm finally getting around to do this. If you had followed my Patreon, a lot of these tips and tricks I already put out there. They're on my Patreon. You can go ahead and save them. But I'm doing it in a video format since this is where I have the highest amount of reach. So without further ado, let's get started. So before we really get into the meat of how to draw black anime characters, we gotta talk about how anime portrays black or brown characters. A lot of the times in anime, characters just tend to look just like the rest of the other members of the cast, just dipped in brown paint, and that's perfectly serviceable. I mean, it's not offensive, it's not terrible. If everybody in the show has a similar face, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it could be a lot better. It can also veer into a completely horrible portrayal, to say the least. A lot of older anime, especially, has portrayed black people in a much less positive light, taking inspiration from minstrel shows and blackface. The kids' book Little Black Sambo is pretty popular in Japan, so they do know about these portrayals, and it shows in their art. Thankfully, anime these days is getting a lot better with their portrayal of black characters. There are really a lot of shows like Soul Eater, Banana Fish, Tuesday and Carol, Michiko to Hatchin, Hunter x Hunter. They're doing a really good job of representing black people and showing the black features and making them look really nice and respectful and fit in the world and fit in their universe. And you can do that too. You can draw different characters with lots of different facial features and make it respectful, make it look beautiful, and draw it in an anime art style. You can do that too, and I'm gonna help you. So the first thing that we're gonna talk about is the nose. It's no secret that anime noses typically tend to be like dots, little check marks, stuff like this. I'm demonstrating right now, but a lot of black people in real life tend to have a wide nose, a flat wide nose that's a little bit more round. Obviously, not every single black person in real life has this, but it's pretty typical among us. So I'm gonna show a few ways that I like to draw a more rounder, larger nose for in an anime style. So the first way I do it is just by drawing the little tip and the nostril on the side. And this is like a really simple way. It's not super like ethnic or whatever, but it works for my art style. It makes the characters really changes their face without like really giving them like a really abnormally large nose for my style. The second way I do it is just by drawing some nostrils, and this is actually really common in anime in general. And then the third way I'll do it is basically like a combination between the two where it's a lot more detailed. So I'll draw the tip of the nose, the nostrils, the side of the nostrils. It's a much more detailed look, and it works pretty well to give a more cute, detailed look without it being like, again, too detailed for an anime art style. So if you really want to make your anime art and your noses like pop out, you gotta use some shading. Like just the lines, that is perfectly serviceable, but using some shading can really bring some much needed dimension and detail to the nose and the facial features that otherwise wouldn't really be there and would look like if you drew it with lines, it would look out of place. But adding some shading really helps like make the noses look more detailed without like adding too much to it, you know? Like I'm just adding a little bit of shading on the top and the bottom of the noses, on the side, and some highlights because darker skin tends to reflect way more light. So you can use a much lighter color for the highlight in moderation, otherwise it'll look really weird. Just like a little bit. And that really helps out too. Just adding details with shading and highlights really adds some much needed definition to the characters. Alright, next up we're going to do some lips. A lot of black people in real life tend to have fuller lips. I am not one of them though. And in a lot of anime, the lips basically are non-existent unless they're like bringing attention to the lips, like they have a character who wears a lot of makeup or something like that. Otherwise, they'll just do like a simple like outlines to them. And for me to like actually color them in, usually I'll do like this, a solid color on the top and then like an airbrush gradient on the bottom, and that really brings a lot of dimension in my opinion. It makes it look really cute without like getting too detailed, because it's like anime style, so we don't want to get super detailed unless you have a super detailed anime style. I don't. And then again, just adding some shading and highlight really brings much needed dimension to an otherwise like very simple design. And a lot of black people in real life do, especially if they have darker skin, will have like darker lips and then like pinker on the inside as we get closer to like the inside of the mouth. Same thing with like the hands that get like paler on the inside of the palms. A lot of black people have like paler insides of the lips. So to portray this, I will do a solid dark top and then like a lighter on the bottom, and that's a pretty simple way to do it. It's not super detailed, but that's a way to do it. I will caution you not to get too exaggerated too much, because then we'll start getting like into like minstrel show territory. But there is a way to respectfully show this. And again, if you're drawing a real life person, make sure to use a reference, because not every black person has lips like this, and some of them, they might be more like overall of a reddish or like purplyish tone, and then overall it might be a much lighter tone. Not everybody has the exact same lips. The third way that I will do it is by, again, I'll do like the solid top and the gradient bottom, and then I can use a gradient on the inside, because like this one's a much more detailed, more like realistic way of doing it, I guess. And I really like it a lot because it also reminds me of the early 2000s, like the lip liner look that's coming back right now. So adding like the gradient color on the inside really makes it look more realistic to how actual pink insides of the lips will actually look. But like it looks kind of cute. So that's the third way that I do it, and I do this a lot more often these days. And again, this is not the end-all be-all of how to draw lips. Every black person has a different lip shape. Again, I don't have very full lips. My lips are pretty like average thin sized. So they're not by any means full. This is not the only way to color them. Not everybody has the same colors. So it really depends on who you're drawing, their makeup, etc. You can like add a Cupid's bow. You can do like Steven Universe style, where they have like the top and the bottom, and then like one way to stylishly color it is to use like a gradient for both the top and the bottom. That's like really cute. And you can do like super detailed if you really want to, or like cat mouths, three mouths. The only thing that I would say is to stray away from doing like what I like to call sausage lips, and I'm about to draw them right now. Basically, like it looks like sausages to me, and you remember that slide? It's very reminiscent of blackface and minstrel shows. We don't do that. We don't do that anymore. Please be respectful is all I'm asking. Alright, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply this knowledge that we learned for coloring to actually picking colors. A lot of people have trouble picking out their colors for the black characters. For me, it's like just second nature. I just pick from these areas. If we go to the too gray section, then they're going to look ashy. Too saturated, then it's just going to look like orangey bad tan. And then anything else obviously is like just silly, because we're drawing real people, not aliens. And I talked about it earlier. Yes, darker skinned people do have lighter palms. Everybody does, actually. Everybody's palms are lighter than the rest of their skin, but the darker your skin will be, the easier it'll be to tell. Like, if I showed you a picture of my hands, it might be really hard to see it, but there is a very subtle line to my palms from like the back of my hand. So yes, we do have lighter palms. Everybody does. It's natural. And that's basically like how I color. I just pick the colors. It's very second nature. As you can see, I am coloring the lips with the same techniques that I used earlier. This time I'm just filling them in. And then make sure you blush it. A lot of darker skin people can have lighter, like red tones in them, so add some blush to give them some much needed life to the picture. And if the skin is darker, it will actually reflect more light. It does not like overall become lighter, but you might get some more dramatic like shimmer, I guess, or like light highlights to the face. So yes, don't be too scared to add a lighter tone for the highlights. And a lot of people have trouble like, okay, well, what if I'm drawing fan art? Obviously, just color pick it. Just color pick it. Get a nice, good, neutral colored reference, or a reference that's in the exact same lighting that you're trying to draw if you don't know how to do the lighting properly. If you do a dramatically lit picture, but you're drawing a neutral thing, then the colors are just going to look wrong. People will say, there's something wrong with this. I don't understand why they look like this, because it's not how they look in normal lighting. And again, this character has lighter skin, but she will realistically have slightly lighter palms than the rest of her skin tone, even though she is pretty light already. Because, like I said, everybody has lighter palms. It's actually, everybody does. It's just less visible on super light skin. And again, we're just doing the same techniques, blushing the face to give it some nice needed life to it, adding the highlights, coloring in the lips, just normal stuff. And next up, we're going to do from a photograph. A lot of people have trouble with this because they're like, but it's like a real person. How do I color pick from that? Or maybe the photograph is like really low quality. You don't know, like, well, first of all, you might want to get a really nice high quality picture, and you got to understand which parts are appropriate to pick from and which ones aren't. See, like the highlights and the shadows, those are too dramatic to color pick from. You don't want to color pick the like very tip of the nose where it's going to be super shiny because it's reflecting too much light. That's not what her actual skin tone is. I picked like in between that, and we got like a nice dark skin tone. But maybe you're like, okay, well, I can't pick from this photo that I have. It's like got too many JPEG artifacts. I'm getting like all these weird pinks and purples and blues or whatever. Or it's just really hard to find one. A lot of people pixelate the image and then just pick from that too. And again, you can understand like which areas are not good to pick from just by comparing it to the original photo. And I picked like a nice dark tone in between that. And then you can like paint with the actual color that you had on the skin and see like, okay, it matches pretty well with her actual skin tone. So this must be a pretty good color to pick from. So, and like, as you can see, the color I picked from the pixelated image actually matches pretty well with the color I picked from the photograph. It's just a little bit more desaturated because when it pixelates, the colors mix a little bit, yada, yada, yada. And again, darker skin tends to have lighter palms. It's a lot more visible since I'm doing a lighter palm compared to the darker skin, but some darker skin people don't have super dramatic like shifts like that. Again, make sure you take references if you're drawing from a real person, because you want to be respectful of how that person actually looks. Also, one more thing, a lot of people do actually have trouble with this, I noticed, is when you're blushing dark skin, you might want to use a more darker, like reddish, purpley-ish tone, especially if you're getting like really, really dark. That looks really nice on it. Like, don't use the same bright pinks and bright reds. I see this a lot in like a lot of dress-up games where they use like the same exact bright pinks, bright reds that they would use for lighter skins, and it doesn't look that good. So I'm just throwing that out there. Okay. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. Next tutorial I do is going to be all about hair types, how to draw different hairstyles, and stuff like that. So I'm already working on it. I already got like a whole lot done. It's just like this video was getting a little bit long. So I hope you guys tune in next time where I talk about hair. If there's any other like tutorials for like black people that you would like to know, please like let me know. Maybe there's like something I missed, something that you didn't really understand, and I'll probably address it in another video. Alright, make sure you comment, share, subscribe, hit that bell button, and I'll see you guys later. Love you. Bye-bye. Mwah.